Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Vidya Maya versus Avidya Maya. I don't know if I said that correctly or not. With Swami Sarvapriyananda. So the only thing I know about Maya was that there was just one, which is the false identity of, well, the universe, I believe. Everything that we see is an illusion, Maya. But two different kinds of Mayas? I've not heard of this before, so I picked this one myself. I figured it'd be kind of interesting. Why is there two different kinds of Mayas? Oh boy, anyways, let's go ahead and get started.
The concept of Vidya Maya, as put forth by Sri Ramakrishna, would it have the explanatory power to define or characterize, say, the different modes of relating to God that the Srimad Bhagavatam expresses? Would all those go under the category of Vidya Maya?
All right, the question is Vidya Maya. Sri Ramakrishna talks about Maya. What is Maya? We can look at it from the function of what it does, basically. In Vedanta, two things. Avarana Vikshepa. Avarana means it hides the reality. Where does it hide the reality? Within us and outside us. I am Brahman, but I don't see myself as that. I see myself as body-mind. So, very interestingly, it's not that I do not experience Brahman. We are all experiencing within quotes. It cannot be experienced as an object. But we are all experiencing Brahman. You know how? It's like when I say, look at the altar. You say, yes. When I say, look at the wood. This one. You say, yeah, I can see the wood. It's the same thing. Because we know the difference between the wood and the altar. The altar is a name and a form and a particular use we have put to this wood. Are you with me so far? So it's not that there are two things here. And when we look at the altar, we are looking at both together. I mean, it's the wood with the name and form and function of the altar. Because we know the difference. When you say altar, you mean this shape and this function and this name, altar. And when you say wood, you mean the material out of the reality, the material out of which it is made. Now, when we say, I am body-mind, it's not that just the enlightened person will say, you are experiencing Brahman right here with the name and form of body-mind, but you cannot see the difference. Literally, you cannot see, you cannot understand, you don't appreciate the difference. Yeah. The Drigdrishya Viveka says, because of Maya, internally within us, we do not appreciate the difference between, say, for example, mind and consciousness. We see thoughts, conscious thoughts, but the difference is not seen. Just as you understand the difference between altar and wood, the difference between thought and consciousness is not understood. And externally, Brahma Sargayo, the creation, the universe, and Brahman as pure being, it appears together to us and we don't see the difference. So the difference is obscured by Maya. So that's one function of Maya. It obscures. Avarana. Avarana literally means veiling. And Vikshepa, projection. It projects Brahman as this universe and as this individual being. But that's not all. This is called Avidya Maya. And it is experienced in life as anger and greed and jealousy and all the negativities which tie us down deeper and deeper into samsara. But the divine qualities, self-control, truth, integrity, love, and the higher spiritual practices, bhavas, this is what he's referring to. So what are these higher spiritual attitudes? When you regard God as parent, father or mother, Sri Ramakrishna loved God as mother, as Kali. Or father. When you love God as friend, like Arjuna loved God as friend, Sakha. When you love God as your own child, Vatsalya Bhava, like the baby Krishna, Gopala, or the baby Rama, Ramlala, like that. Or you love God as the attitude of the beloved, Madhura Bhava, as the gopis and Krishna. Or the peaceful, the jnanis, the enlightened person, the jnanis' attitude towards God, Shanta Bhava, the peaceful attitude, something of which we did in the meditation today. This is the peaceful attitude, Shanta Bhava. Now what he's asking is, these are also within Maya, isn't it? We are in this samsara, we are practicing these things. Yes, so Sri Ramakrishna calls all of these as Vidya Maya. You are right, these are modes of relating to God. In Vedanta, in the Bhakti path, we have this principle. Divinize our relationship to human beings and humanize our relationship to God. Very beautiful principle. What are all of them? They are none other than my beloved Krishna in all of these forms. Sab Gopal hain, all are Gopala to me. And what is Gopala to me? What is God? God is my child, Gopala, little baby. God is my mother, and a Kali. So you have a mother, child, these are human relationships. But you are applying them to God. And one existence, consciousness, bliss in all beings. That's a divine thing, but you are applying it to human beings. This is called Vidya Maya. Vidya, it's still Maya. It's still within Maya. But what the difference? Avidya Maya, the Maya of ignorance, the negativities, they trap us further in samsara. And this Vidya Maya is the one to be cultivated because it helps us to go out of samsara, to be liberated, to be enlightened. So Maya is not bad. Maya gets bad press. What's it called? Bad rep.
Okay, so that's kind of weird. This is the first time I've ever heard of Maya being good and bad. I've heard of good and bad things before, but not in Maya. Maya, at least from my understanding, has always been just this facade of the world, the universe, our bodies. It's a falsehood of reality. That's how I've always understood Maya, but now Maya is more than just this falsehood. There's also the ideas and the actions that are, well, I mean, obviously they're falsehood. Our actions are false because these actions are within Maya. But to say that they're good and bad, that's, I mean, I don't know how to think of that. I guess it's just Maya got a bit more difficult to understand. Maya's not just this false nature of the existence that we live, but now Maya also includes the practices that we do and the actions that we take as well.
Bad press. Maya does both things. It's a very ancient Sankhyan conception, Prakriti and Purusha. So Prakriti, nature, does two things for Purusha. Purusha is the conscious being. Each of us is Purusha. So Prakriti, material nature, provides two services to you. One is bhoga, one is apavarga. Bhoga means experience. Experience. Often is translated as enjoyment, but enjoyment is not quite right. Because pleasure and pain are both bhoga. So material nature provides us that. Why would we want pleasure, but why would you want pain? In the nature of experience, to learn in life, all of these are necessary. So these things keep coming. As long as we want samsara, Prakriti will, or nature will provide these two for us, pleasure and pain, happiness and misery. And this is samsara, it will continue. When we awaken to spiritual life, when we want something more, we become a seeker, then Prakriti will provide us a way out. So it's apavarga is a very ancient Indian name for moksha. Moksha means freedom. But apavarga is the name for a very philosophical ancient name. It's used by the Sankhyans, it's used by the Nayayikas. It's a very old name, out of fashion nowadays. So that same Prakriti which provides bhoga and apavarga, experience and freedom, in Vedanta that Prakriti becomes Maya. So Maya provides us with samsara and liberation, moksha. For samsara, Maya becomes avidya Maya. For liberation, Maya becomes Vidya Maya. Very good, thank you.
Can I just ask a related
question?
Very quick.
Okay, good. There's more. I was like, I'm a little afraid. Like, I get it, but please let me know more.
So, in terms of liberation, if you're relating with God on such deep levels, are you a liberated soul, or are you going to have to come back to finish and go past even that?
if you're relating to God with these
in very personal, deep ways. Are you
in these ways,
a liberated soul?
as a child or as a friend or lover, whatever. It depends on whether it's a practice or it's a fact. By this practice, one reaches, this is a sadhana, spiritual practice, right. And there's a fulfillment of that sadhana when it becomes a living fact. The monk who came to Sri Ramakrishna in Dakshineshwar, he worshipped the child Rama in a little image of Ramlala. But the monk could see the child Rama. He would walk around, climb on his shoulders. Nobody else saw anything else. But he would climb on his shoulders and he would play with that monk. And then when he came to Dakshineshwar, the child Rama, and so that was the fulfillment of his lifelong worship of that little image. Because now that person, he sees God in that form. It's the same Satchidananda. It's a beautiful spiritual technology, if I may say so. The same Satchidananda, the impersonal existence consciousness bliss, which we are talking about. We are singing there, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, infinite being consciousness. But that infinite being consciousness in a name and form. That name and form you might say is cultural, because he's a Hindu, because he is a worshipper of Rama, Ramayat Sadhu. So he sees that true. No problem there. It's a lens through which he sees. You need a name and form to see it. So that name and form is the name and form of the baby Rama.
I was going to say, because I have always thought that was not the Jivatman. I can't remember what it's called. But it's a step into realizing Brahman, I believe, if I remember correctly. So basically, that's the reason why there's 330 million gods in Hinduism, is because everyone personalized their gods, and it is still the god that they personalize, or these other gods that they see are still Maya, but it is that one step closer to getting to Brahman. So that's what I was thinking. It's like he sees this baby Rama as his own personal god, but he's not quite there yet. He said that. I guess I want to confirm the fact that I understood that too.
And so now, is that person realized, or will he have to come back? No, he's realized. Yeah. A strict non-dualist might insist, no, one more step.
I didn't realize that would be a dualistic worldview to just... I guess it might be, considering that if you see this little child, this is something separate from yourself and not you. That's the reason why there's that one more step I was talking about earlier, that this is, because this is still Maya, this illusion that this God is, or gods, however many you worship, is a separate being. And that last step is to realize this God that you're seeing is actually a reflection of yourself, in a sense.
Brahmasmi, I and that baby, that Ramlala, I and that are one and the same. Sri Ramakrishna is much more liberal. He says, if you have touched the reality in some way or the other, you're liberated. If you have touched it in devotion, you're liberated. You know the reality. You know the reality, then any non-dualist who has memorized dozens of texts and argued and debated with many people, but has not actually experienced Aham Brahmasmi, as Vivekananda said, an ounce of practice is worth 20 tons of tall talk. So, yes.
20 tons of tall talk right now, and so far no ounces of practice. I actually subscribe, Amazon had a special going on for like audiobooks. I ended up pick up an Inner Engineering from Sadhguru. I haven't started it yet, haven't downloaded it yet. I'm waiting for something to happen real quick so I can download it and start listening to it. I guess I figured I'd let that out now. And I think the next book I'll get, because I'm gonna be subscribed for 3 months, I think it's gonna be, someone suggested Karma from Sadhguru as well, to understand karma. So then I'm gonna need another book, an Avidya book, I guess, if I even pronounced that correct. I probably butchered it, but a third book to listen to. Hopefully a book from him. Actually, I do want to hear I want to hear a dualistic worldview too, and a non-dualistic. I want his book too. Does he even have a book?
That's a vibrant, living reality. And once one is well along the path, One need not worry about liberation, moksha, jivan mukti, liberated while living, videha mukti, liberated after death. Don't worry. You're already on the path. There is no backing out for you. It will come in its own time. That's secondary. Enjoy the journey. One beautiful thing I learned from Swami Smarananandaji, who is our president of our order in India, he said many years ago, he said, not only the end is bliss, but the means must be bliss too. When you're doing sadhana, talking about God, reading about God, whether it's in a philosophical non-dualistic way or in a devotional dualistic way, it should be full of joy. Be very happy because you are blessed. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, so I was pulling up. Is it yeah? I think this is the word I was looking for. Ishvara, Brahman with that with attribute of Maya. So there's Brahman, there's Maya, which is the illusion, and then Ishvara is the illusion of God. So Rama or Shiva, I'm guessing, or the 330 other million other gods out there, I believe is Ishvara. One who rules the world, personal God, yeah. And then Atman is the true consciousness of Brahman. It's always kind of gotten to me. Brahman and Atman are the same, but I think there are some differences to it. I haven't quite figured that part out yet. And then Jivatman, which is the belief that I am the consciousness. I am a separate consciousness from Brahman. I am a separate consciousness from you. I am understanding it, still very basic. And I do want to, I keep talking about doing the comments and then also explain, at least maybe explaining how my understanding of Brahman, Atman, from the non-dualistic and dualistic point of view of my understanding on it and my arguments for dualistic, and I'm hoping someone will come back at me with some good arguments for non-dualistic. It's going to be hard, though, I'll say. I am, not to say stubborn, but again, I guess my default is dualistic, and it's kind of hard set because of, again, if non-dualistic is true and Maya is true, that Maya has a really good grip on me. Alright, so that's my reaction to Vidya Maya and Avidya Maya. I didn't realize there was two different kinds of Mayas, or is this like something separate? Like maybe it's Vidya, if I'm even pronouncing that correctly. So Vidya as in the bad emotion, or I'm sorry, Vidya is the good emotion, Avidya is the bad emotion, but this is the emotion in terms of Maya, the false emotion, even though Brahman would have no emotion. It is unaffected by any of this. That's weird to add that in there. Anyways, that's my reaction to this video. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.